Om Kayena vacha manasyendrayirva Bhutyatmanava prakriti swabhava Karomi adyat sakalam paresma Narayana samarpayami Narayana samarpayami.
Dear Seeker of Truth, welcome. This is a very auspicious moment. We are going to talk about Bhakti. Bhakti, divine love. So we are going to talk about Bhakti as the essence of all spiritual paths, as the soul of all spiritual paths, and also as a path in itself, Bhakti Yoga. So this is a work made by sage Shandilya, the Shandilya Bhakti Sutras. Not much is known about this Shandilya, only that he was a sage, a God-realized being that gone through many other philosophies and finally got to the nectar-like Bhakti as the soul of it all. So Sage Shandilya had a very intellectual approach also. He was concerned about getting from the different authorities, the different scriptures, the validity, the importance of bhakti as a spiritual path. So he gathered that all and shared it. So may you all find divine love in your hearts. May you all be blessed by this auspiciousness. May you all find God. Moving on, Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, Sutra 3. Because immortality has been predicted to him who abides in God. So the one who abides constantly in God, immortality has been predicted to him. It means it will come through with abiding constantly in God. It is because he who has established himself in it, who has established his own self, the self in the Supreme Self, known as Ishvar or Brahm, the Supreme Lord, by being one with him, who has attained God realization by following the path of Bhakti, is deemed to have found the eternal nectar of immortality and bliss unbound. Verily indeed, this is the universal and unequivocal declaration of the Scriptures. And the Scriptures, they are the words of God. They are not man-made. If it is man-made, it is not the word of God. So these Scriptures, as the Vedas, for example, they are brought down by the seers who see the Scriptures, the words of God, but they are the words of God. And the Scriptures are used more or less to see if someone is a self-realized being, their words cannot go against the Scriptures. Sometimes it's difficult to understand the words and to understand their meaning, yes, but eventually they are in harmony. The words of the enlightened being and the words of the Scriptures, and they give credibility to each other. So the countless beings that have reached self-realization, God-realization, they have come back with the wisdom that shows that the Scriptures are correct. They give the interpretation of what is there. Also the same goes in the other way. So this is why Sage Shandilya goes to the Scriptures to find the reasons why, the proofs that Bhakti is the supreme path to God realization. So in Chandogya Upanishad, we learn that all other Vedic rites, Vedic lessons may lead one to the respective result, but it is unalloyed devotion to the Supreme Godhead alone that helps oneself to attain immortality. Because immortality is God realization, vice versa. So without one, there's not the other. In Katha Upanishad, through unalloyed devotion to Godhead, one transcends the mundanity and attains the final beatitude. Through unalloyed devotion, a devotion that is not shared with nothing else, through this one transcends the mundanity and attains that final beatitude. And it ends here. Blessed is he who loves God with all his heart, body and mind, seeks no reward, accounts himself only to be his debtor, unalloyed devotion to God. To Godhead, accounts himself only to be his debtor. Unalloyed devotion to Godhead brings an end to the cycling of life of transmigration, and ultimately it makes the devotee drink the nectar with unsatiated, ever-growing thirst in rendering unalloyed service with poignant love. So this is the direction of the one who is full with love. Serving love is an urge and meat for the devotee. The highest force in life is love of God. Love is the profoundest philosophy of life. That everyone can tell. The previous one, not everyone. Sutra 4. Some may opine that for culturing devotion to God, philosophical knowledge, jnana, is indispensable, or there is necessary preconditional subsequence of philosophical knowledge of God. Shandilya says no, absolutely not, because we know an antagonist may also have knowledge of God, but there rests not an iota of devotion in his mind towards God, and he never gets the state of highest blessedness. So, Shandilya is of the opinion that no knowledge of God is needed to have devotion, and it doesn't mean anything, because a skeptic may have the knowledge of God, yet has no devotion and has no fruits of devotion. So knowledge may or may not lead to devotion, but without devotion there's no real knowledge. The knowledge of truth, the knowledge of God, that is the real knowledge. Which is the knowledge of the real, okay? Real jnana and real bhakti are the same. They are the same because ultimately the real knowledge is the knowledge of God. And God is the supreme being and the ultimate being. It's the same. It is the transcendental being, is still God. So real jnana, or the realization of jnana, and real bhakti, pure bhakti, they are the knowledge of God. That is the knowledge of God. So every other knowledge, the teachings from the scriptures, they are not the wisdom, they are not the real knowledge. They are that which directs to the real knowledge, because that may be a knowledge to lead you to that final reality. But the final reality is the real knowledge, to know it directly. That is real knowledge. And self-realization, which is in the path of jnana, and God realization, into bhakti, they are the same. The same. The path of Gyan and the path of Bhakti are different. The path of Bhakti, in theory, the main goal is to develop devotion to that final beatitude. Yes, they are different, because this is the purpose of Bhakti. And Gyan, the purpose is transcending the world and its structures, the illusion. But like I've explained in other videos about the subject, this path of Gyan only makes sense if devotion is abundant already, or it has to develop it, or else there will be no end result. The path of Gyan cannot bring that final beatitude without the rise of Bhakti. Yes, it is true. Without devotion, the path of Gyan cannot bring any fruits. So yoga, Vedanta, all these things, if there's no devotion, if devotion is not rising, cannot lead to that final knowledge, that Gyan. And this is observed in many countless seekers that work on their sadhanas but don't make devotion the center of their sadhana, either through meditation or whatever practice they're undergoing. If devotion is not the center, it brings always something, but it's very small compared. Gyan gives the devotee the vision of the unreal that is usually called reality. Yes, it speaks of the unreality of the world, helping to turn the attention from the world to God. In the beginning, it is Brahman, an abstract concept. But eventually, only devotion to that Brahman can remove attention from the world. But without this devotion, you're trying to remove the attention of the world. You may succeed at some point, some levels, but then there's nothing from the other part, apart from a little bit of peace, silence, if such, but without devotion, nothing else comes. So, but that peace, that increase of purity by the abstraction from the sense objects may help to bring that devotion. Bhakti is the love for the Supreme Being which brings oneness within, and that is the Supreme Gyan. Yes, it is the Supreme Gyan, that ultimate God realization, where that is the pure love for the Supreme Being. It's the same as God realization. That is the Supreme Gyan. So Parabhakti, pure Bhakti, Supreme Bhakti is the same as pure Gyan. So Gyan is the knowing about the Supreme Being, to focus exclusively on Brahman, so that devotion may rise, and with oneness with Brahman, or dissolution of the individual, or self-realization takes place. That is pure Gyan. And this pure Gyan is the knowing about the Supreme Being. So this knowing about the Supreme Being, it's not really pure Gyan, it's knowing as a concept. So it's Gyan because it is a knowing about the Supreme Being, but it's not a realization. It is self-realization or God realization, but let's say self-realization because we are talking about Gyan. And that is the real knowing. So that realization of Brahman is the real knowing. And that is the same as pure Bhakti. So Bhakti is the life of the spiritual journey. The rest are paths to it. So, yes, bhakti is the soul of all paths, and everything, the purpose of all is to love God. Independently of the name that you know Him, but to love Him. A name is just an instrument for the individual. That is too big. But when you're referring yourself to that, that is the important part. That ultimate supreme being. Vedanta Sutras say, because it has been taught that emancipation accrues to him who is devoted to him. So in the Vedanta Sutras, it says that it has been taught that emancipation or liberation comes to the one who is devoted to him, to God, to Brahman. Even in Vedanta we see that it is all about the same. So Ishvara, Brahman are the same. Philosophically, in the beginning, it may seem different, but then it is seen that Jiva, Paramatman, and Brahman are the same. But God is more present, more reachable in that state, let's call it like that. Brahman is more abstract for the individual, but they are the same. The Bhagavata says, Bhagavat Mahapurana, those who, abandoning the path of unalloyed devotion to the lotus feet of the Godhead, the source of true well-being, labor for dry, abstract knowledge for its own sake, toil in vain like those who pound empty husks of paddy. So those who abandon the path of unalloyed devotion and start going after the knowledge, the abstract knowledge of Brahman, but without this devotion implied, they get just, what does they call it? So this dry abstract knowledge for its own sake, or for the sake of the knowledge itself, meaning to become more knowledgeable, to be more, to become a scholar or something like that, and not for devotion itself, they are doing nothing. So it's compared like pounding the husks of a paddy, the empty husks of a paddy. There's nothing inside there, so you're just wasting your energy and nothing there. Brahma says, O Lord, intelligence cannot be pure without devotion to thee. This is Brahma, the creator of the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, three aspects of the Supreme Being. So these are different aspects of the same being that take care of the creation. And he says, O Lord, intelligence cannot be pure without devotion to thee, meaning that it will never reveal thy presence and will never reveal the path towards God. So devotion is that which opens the path to God. The Bhagavata says, those who, leaving aside all attempts after knowledge, listen to thy transcendental glorious pastimes, chanted by the self-realized devotees, and live a life of pure devotion in body, mind, and words, can easily hold sway over thee, although thou art inaccessible to all in the three worlds. So being inaccessible to all in the three worlds, those who forget about knowledge and listen to the transcendental glorious pastimes, which are the incarnations of the Lord amongst his devotees, that are chanted by the self-realized ones, so being in the presence of those self-realized devotees, listen to those glories, living a life of pure devotion in body, mind, and words, can hold a sway over God easily, where he is inaccessible to all others in the three worlds. The three worlds. The demons, the demonic worlds, the human world, and the world of the devas, of the deities. The Yagnik Brahmins said about the gopis, "These ladies are most fortunate indeed. Neither they got purificatory rites of investiture with sacred thread of a twice-born," a lot of information, "nor they have resided in the preceptor's house for learning the Vedas, nor any austerity performed by them, yet they could attain Shri Krishna, the Lord of the universe, having been endowed with unswerving devotion. Fie unto us who are devoid of devotion for Shri Krishna. Vain is our high lineage, vain our learning, austerities, versatility of the scriptures, and our being adept in rituals, for we are devoid of devotion to the exalted Lord. Although we already heard that Sri Hari, who is the very substance of the substratum of every constituent of the sacrifice, viz. The time, place, materials of offerings, mantra, the procedure, the priests, the fire, the deities, the sacrificer, the sacrifice itself, and the fruits of sacrifice, has incarnated himself in the clan of the Yadus, and yet, fools that we are, we could not recognize him." So the gopis, for those who don't know, Krishna was an incarnation of God and lived amongst his devotees. And the gopis, who in the past were sages, very advanced sages, very pure sages, that asked Lord Ram, which was another incarnation of God, to spend their life, to spend time with him, to live with him. More or less like this, I don't remember exactly. And Lord Ram granted their wish, but said that he could only grant that in his next incarnation as Krishna. So they were all born gopis that tend the cattle, and they lived in the same place where Krishna grew as a child, and they had pure devotion towards him. And the Brahmins were saying that these ladies are most fortunate indeed. Neither they got purificatory rites of investiture, it is a ritual, of the twice-born, the one who has been born twice, has been born for spirituality, has been twice born has another meaning, but let's not make more confusion. Nor they have resided in the preceptor's house for learning the Vedas, so they went through no learning of the scriptures, and they haven't performed any austerities. Yet they could attain Shri Krishna. They could have pure devotion for him. They could be immersed in Krishna and achieve final liberation without any of that, because their love was pure. And this is important because knowledge has a problem of exacerbating pride. And in these incarnations of God, a common subject is the most endowed with spiritual knowledge Even those, or especially those, who speak about the next incarnations of God and all of that, and seem to have all the answers, when God comes, they cannot recognize Him because their minds are filled with pride and blindness. And where there's pride, devotion cannot grow. In the Gita, the Lord says, "My devotee alone is on the real path to attain to his highest blessedness, whereas the path of Gyan is beset with dangers and results in a sorrowful wreck." So the path of Gyan is full of dangers because it's very difficult to go through. In the modern days, it is talked about the path of Gyan as easy. Everything is easy, but it's not. It's full of dangers. Pride is one big of these dangers, and a lot of discipline and a lot of also dryness is needed. So it is very difficult. It is possible, and it's not about choosing, because each seeker has the path of his heart, meaning for him to achieve liberation, God communion, you will have to achieve the same steps, the same transformations, realizations, the same thing, only the direction is different. But all of them, to bring fruits, devotion has to be the center of them. Where there's dryness, there's no self-realization, no God realization. So the purpose of life is wasted. So my devotee alone is on the real path to attain the highest blessedness. So even Shankaracharya, in his works, in his sutras, always started with a heartfelt prayer to God, to Krishna, to Vishnu. Always started that. He was a devotee. There is difficulty in starting the quest for bhakti because some lack devotion, others have lots of emotions and start the bhakti path, but few have the purity to recognize it. So, in the child's play, some say, oh, the Jnana Yoga is better, and because, because contemplating on devotion is hard, but the rest is possible. It's more possible to make an intellectual goal of it. But also in the path of bhakti, in the kindergarten, those who are full of emotions, they think they are on the best path. But bhakti has nothing to do with these both. It is pure love for God, not selfish love, and not dryness. So eventually, through their own path and work, they all have to find the same direction that seems very far away in the beginning, but becomes the same path in the long run. It's not about meaning of the words. All the words point to that final realization. And that final realization can be called God realization, self-realization. It's the same. It's the same. Okay.
Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva Tvameva bandhushka sakha Tvameva Tvameva vidya dravinam Tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva.